I'm Robert Firpo-Cappiello, Editor-in-Chief at Hospitality Technology. Welcome to How Cryptocurrency Will Impact Hospitality. My guest is Bo Friddell, President, Sunrise Salvador Development in Bitcoin Beach, El Salvador. Bo, welcome to MURTEC Executive Summit.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're psyched to talk to you. This is an audience of restaurant operators and suppliers. And of course, in the States right now, crypto is of interest to a lot of people. How can it be applied to certain businesses as a form of currency? Some people still see it as an investment. There's some regulatory talk now, some always interest in how it might affect taxation. But I would love to have you introduce yourself, who you are, where you are, and what you're doing to our audience.
So my name is Bo Friddell. Officially opened a hotel here in El Salvador about 2 years ago. Especially in this community, there's a lot of challenges, both we're working with banks and also with sources of cash. So the Bitcoin Beach program was started here. The name of the beach is actually Playa El Zonte. And what it is it's a community-backed, it's essentially a banking services network, but it's all done through Bitcoin. You can see in the app all of the locations that accept Bitcoin here in Zonte. And it was designed to address these problems that we face here, whether it's people don't have cash to leave tips, people don't have cash to pay, workers aren't able to go and get cash because it's more than an hour on the bus to go to the nearest Western Union or ATM. And it also provides a way for people here to link in to the diaspora that are sending back remittances. So there's a smaller side, a micro side, importance to using Bitcoin here, where El Salvador has a dollar-based economy, but there's not a very strong access to cash. And then there's the other side, which is from our business perspective. We started accepting Bitcoin in November of last year, and we just declared it as a cash other receivable. And starting from September 7th, now it's been legal tender here in El Salvador. So very exciting times, very interesting times. It definitely helps us in a lot of ways. It saves a lot of time, which for small and medium businesses, your most important resource. So of course, there's been a little bit of challenges in the implementation and making sure everyone's on the same page and how do we report it and stuff like that. But in general, we have had a very positive experience, and especially here in the local community, it's been something that's had a very positive impact. So I'm happy to talk about it today.
Mm-hmm. Great. Yeah, we're happy to have you here. So, in the States, we see it as potentially convenient. You go to a pizzeria and it's basically tap and pay using Bitcoin wallet. Some restaurants are experimenting with that. But where you are in El Salvador, it's really solving for specific pain points. To your point, it was a cash-based economy, but access to cash was difficult. A long trip to an ATM, and then, as I understand it, fairly almost punitive fees for lower, for accounts that did not have thousands of dollars in it, and so. So what form does it take? If somebody checks into Garten Hotel and pays with Bitcoin, they're using their device, and then what kind of device are you using to receive that payment?
So we have two different types of Bitcoin receivable operations. The one that we encourage our guests to do is the Bitcoin Beach app, because that's the local app, and we're, of course, all about supporting our community. That app supports Lightning wallet payments. So another thing about here is sometimes the power will go out and we have a generator, but the cell towers don't have generators. So you can lose service, which limits your accessibility to the Bitcoin on-chain network. But with the Lightning Network, it's a peer-to-peer payment. So people are still able to do their transactions even if there's not a cell signal. The way that people check in is normally when they arrive, we have 3 different QR codes. One's for the hotel, one's for the bar and restaurant, and one's for services. If they're hotel guests, then we aggregate everything and we charge them at the end. If they're just people staying in the restaurant and bar, then that QR code is the one that we have there on our tablet that we just spin around with the QR code for the amount of money. They just scan it and send it. And that'll be a specific QR code for the transaction, either in the Lightning wallet or in on-chain if they want to use on-chain. Once the Lightning wallet reaches a certain amount above that, we move it into our on-chain wallet at whatever time we find has the lowest fee. And there's a website that helps us identify in like the coming 24 hours what will be the best time to move your coin on-chain. It's really convenient. And then that same website allows our administrator to receive an alert once the payment has been received. And we input that payment into a Google spreadsheet that shows the amount when it was received and then the current amount as well. So we can keep track of all of that in an automated way that's I was able to set up, and that's user-friendly for people here in El Salvador that maybe aren't so familiar with advanced Excel functions or coding or anything like that. It just pops up. We have a green cell for the verifications are received, and then show the amount when we received it, which is what we declare, and then show the current amount value, which is after the volatility, whatever happens.
So the customer experience at check-in and then especially at the bar and restaurant sounds very, very seamless. And you know, if I were visiting you, it wouldn't be all that different from what I'm used to in terms of using a QR code and making a payment on a tablet. I think that's potentially appealing to customers.
Yeah, it's very similar to Apple Pay. And the thing for us that's really appealing is so here in El Salvador, it's not normal for people to tip. So you can't really add tips to a credit card charge in the same way that you do in the US because the companies are worried about fraud. So all of our service staff have Bitcoin Beach wallets that allow them to receive tips, $5, $10. And this is something that is a really a good supplement for their income, but they actually used, instead of cashing out that Bitcoin, they use that to reserve taxis to go to the grocery store, or like on their day of errands, they can reserve all of these things that normally you would need to go get the money, then pay the guy, and it makes everything difficult. But now that each person has a Bitcoin wallet and a Lightning wallet, you know, the guests don't come with cash because they plan to pay with credit card or with Bitcoin. So then they can still send the tips to the service staff that they feel to have done a good job. So you have the good user experience both in paying the business, and then also it's something where the client and the service staff are kind of doing this new thing that's providing a value to each side, because a lot of times people want to leave tips and then they just don't have cash and there's nowhere in town to get cash. So it's something that's really cool, adds value, and brings currency into the community, which is always nice.
I love that it's, you know, it's seamless for the guest, but for the workers, it's actually potentially a game changer for in terms of not just convenience, but of in terms of like liquidity. That's really cool. Now, and speaking of liquidity, I'm not an expert on regulatory concerns or taxation, but is it relatively complicated at this point to deal with Bitcoin as a currency in terms of compliance with financial regulations and taxation?
So we're going to see, but as of now, it seems like it's pretty straightforward. All you do is you declare the sale because you have to pay your VAT tax. Here it's called your IVA.
Mhm.
So the VAT tax is 13%. The government said that they're not going to charge any taxes on capital gains. So once you declare that amount that you received as IVA, however much the price of your coin fluctuates, however much it goes up, you don't owe any additional taxes. So you just report that that transaction as a transaction received. The way that we do it is for large transactions that involve hotel stays, because that's a different tax rate. We have to pay an extra 5% to the Ministry of Tourism. Our system creates an invoice that shows what part was spent in the hotel, what part was spent in the restaurant. It puts a picture of the QR code for that transaction, and then puts the transaction code with the confirmation verifications. And that serves as our receipt that we then submit to the Ministerio de Hacienda as part of the regulation here. So it's very funny here because you think it's a digital economy, but there's still some legacy rules which say every transaction has to have a paper documentation.
Mhm.
So they're going to change it. They're working on it now. They told us, but for now, yeah. So we just print that out. We pay the VAT tax on it, and once that's it, it's done. We don't need to do anything else. So for us, it's pretty easy relative, I think, to what it would be in other countries where maybe there's some sales tax and then profit tax and other stuff after the fact.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's exciting. It's a pioneering effort, and so you're balancing between old rules and new rules and paper trail and digital. You mentioned the Bitcoin Beach app. That is a convenient way for customers to pay. Is it also? I know for a lot of hospitality brands, having an app that your customers download and then refer to even when they're not staying with you or dining with you is potentially fantastic for loyalty, staying in touch, making offers and things like that. I'm just curious if the Bitcoin Beach app is a way for you to stay in touch with guests when they after they leave your property.
Yeah, so a lot of times Bitcoin people, early adopters, are pretty big on anonymity. So we don't do the kind of generic follow-up outreach. We could, but I choose to respect their privacy, but their contact shows up in our app. So it would be very easy for a hotel that does a lot more with customer loyalty marketing and notifications to be able to use that information. But that's just something that for us, for now, because we're more of a boutique hotel, and especially with the Bitcoin people, I'm kind of on a first name or face-to-face basis with a lot of them up to now. Like they'll write me a message on Signal when they want to reserve or whatever. It's just how the early adopters think. But as it goes more mainstream, I definitely think there's a huge potential for that. We have a MailChimp account that we're working on to start pushing some marketing stuff like that. I would kind of manually curate who those emails go to, but it's definitely a good touch point, a way to keep people engaged in what's going on here, because kind of each time they come back, there's a new functionality. There's more businesses that are accepting it, or something big has happened, like it's now illegal. So it's definitely something that I think chains or larger hotels could use as a way to stay in touch with their customers. And for us to, even after people left, they've sent tips to our workers. Two guests sent Easter, like an Easter bonus. They had stayed 2 months before, but they know Easter is a really big holiday here. And so to the one waiter and the one bartender that took care of them, they had like followed up and sent another $50 to each one as like an Easter present, which I thought was really cool. And it shows like maybe they see the Bitcoin Beach app on their phone and they like remember Garten with good memories, and then they just go on and do something like that. So it's definitely a way to do it. We haven't put a lot of resource into it yet, but
Yeah, those are really great points, and I love that that just having the app on their phone is reminding them of their trip, and then thinking of your staff. That's beautiful. We're always thinking about what's next, and for for some American restaurants, especially QSRs, where it's all about a quick transaction. There are experiments going on with Bitcoin Wallet and things like that. Just curious about your thoughts of the future of hospitality payments, based a bit on your experience. Not asking you to necessarily predict the future, but if you have thoughts in that direction.
yeah, like for me, the most obvious future application is how this is going to save you time and make your customers' experience easier. On the thought of like a restaurant or a spa or health club, if you have people that are coming in a lot, you can have them like register a Bitcoin wallet with you, so you see they have money there, and just have them pay one time per month. Like I know now the trend in the US is with Afterpay and all these people, but I mean, you can imagine if like the way to keep people coming back is they have a credit account with you that they just pay one time per month. You just send them like a reminder on the 30th, hey, you owe like $900 for your 12 lunches, or something like that. And I think that's something that customers would really appreciate. Like, you think about the time you spend at the register, or the time, I know you can do autofill your card and stuff, but that's still time, and that's still something that you have to do. So for people that are busy, or for people that would just appreciate like this business, trust me to be one of their credit accounts, and yeah, you can have an alert on their wallet, make sure like still have the money there. You can still see everything. Like for me, those kind of loyalty credit accounts are something that could be a differentiator for businesses. I'm sure some of them already do it through their websites or whatever, but this is something that I think is even easier, and the business is able to stay updated in real time with the amount that's in that wallet, because it's on the chain.
Yeah, it's the crypto version of the card on file, which is what ideally is a win-win for
yeah. And then the other thing is for like larger reservations, events, catering, corporate accounts, like the same thing applies to that, I think. But people don't need to cash out their $100,000 of stock. They just transfer Bitcoin, and they don't have to sell the Bitcoin to send it to you. So as it is currently in the US, they wouldn't have to pay money on that. It's just an exchange. We don't know what's going to happen, obviously, but I mean, imagine someone wants to do a big event for $120,000, instead of having to go through all the authorizations for the bank, or checking with accounting and finance and everything. Like, you can just send $1 from your Bitcoin wallet, show them that you have it, then you send like the 50% whenever it's due, and you don't need to do anything. It just goes straight to the provider, who would also appreciate it, because they would be paying less fees than they would on a credit card receivable, and it would be easier for them to access the money as well. Going from that, like the time value component, and then the ease of transaction component for larger businesses, for events, if there are big hotels here that have casinos, the value for casinos is obvious, because you can just have a house wallet, or a house account where people can store their asset, or can store their crypto without needing to convert it to dollars. All of these applications are, I think, going to become completely normal within 5 years. I don't see it, like it makes everything so much easier. I don't see a way that it avoids happening unless it's just made completely illegal, and which I don't think is really possible either, but we'll see.
Yeah, it's saving time and money is high on everybody's list, and yeah, we're seeing various levels of resistance across around the world, and but also of acceptance. Bo Friddell, president of Sunrise Salvador Development in Bitcoin Beach, El Salvador, thank you so much for spending some time with MURTEC Executive Summit audience. We really appreciate it.
Happy to be here, happy to talk Bitcoin, and excited to see what the future holds.